So I know some of you aren't quite interested in the Black Prior. Being an edgelord's not your style. We are getting 3 hero updates with the Season 9 patch as well. So for those of you who aren't in that same boat, you can enjoy these. Let's go ahead and detail them. We have the Shugoki, the Peacekeeper, and the Warlord getting hero updates, with the Peacekeeper and the Warlord getting minor updates, and the Shugoki getting more of a major hero update. So let's kick it off with the major one, Shugoki. In the developer's words, Shugoki currently lets you fight for about 5 seconds at a time. You have to get a guard break, remove the hyper armor, then fight. It's the slowest matchup in the game and overall not fun for either party. They wanted to make Shugoki more active and a trading machine rather than being the slowest fight. So that's what they did. His passive hyper armor is gone. Instead, they make many of his attacks have super armor on them when you throw the attack. His light attacks are being reduced from 600 milliseconds to 500 milliseconds. It gains an uninterruptible stance at 200 milliseconds into the strike. Heavies get super armor on them at the point where you let the attack go. This can be feinted even once they go unblockable, and with his new heavies, he can feint them directly into Demon's Embrace, even after they go unblockable. They've also tweaked his heavies so that they always consume 12 stamina when you feint, rather than the previous cost of 12 plus the charge cost. His headbutt has been updated to be usable on a whiff. It is no longer guaranteed after a light because of this. This should give you some mix-up game where you can throw at a light at too far of a range and then throw a headbutt and get that confirmed. They've also removed his Demon's Embrace from neutral. You can still get it from a throw and off your heavy cancels, so it's not gone. You still get confirms, but you can't throw it from neutral. Demon's Embrace also has uninterruptible stance 500 milliseconds into it, so you do still confirm that if they're too slow. Following with that change, Demon's Embrace can also be interrupted by teammates, similar to how Shaman's Bite handles these days. This does lower the gank potential, but it also improves the overall skill required. This means that if you get grabbed, it's no longer a 100% death sentence as it currently is. With proper teamwork, you should still be able to do upwards of 120 damage punish off of this, so it will kill like half the cast, but it wouldn't be a 100% thing if the enemy team's not coordinated. They've also changed his zone. Previously, his zone would be 2 attacks where he would sweep side to side. Now it is more like Lawbringer's zone where he flails 1 circle and then it can transition rather than doing a second strike. You can transition it into a headbutt, a heavy finisher, or Demon's Embrace. This gives you options. Previously, it would be 1 slow swing back from the opposite direction. That would guarantee a parry. It was so easy to get. This should fix that. They've also changed his sprinting attack. His sprinting attack will no longer swing from the right and will now swing from the top. They have updated Demon Ball, so it now only lasts 800 milliseconds instead of 1200 milliseconds, meaning that it is now quicker for you to perform, and you should be able to get your ledges easier when you need to flip them out from a team fight. This also lets you get back into the action quicker when you know you're going to be able to get that hit. They have updated the hard to kill feat. The damage resistance across the board is being scaled back. This is in part due to another change with Shugoki, which is being that his hyper armor is being removed from passive, he now no longer takes an additional 25% damage. So between the hard to kill feat and his hyper armor being removed and then removing the 25% damage bonus that he took, this should be an overall net 0 in his HP terms, or in fact an actual HP buff slightly. If I'm not mistaken, he should gain an effective 10 HP, even though they did reduce his armor, simply because this way he no longer takes additional damage. We'll have to see how it plays out in game. All we have right now is the current dev matches that we've seen, so here's to hoping, fingers crossed, it's not that bad. I think that does wrap up Shugoki though, so let's go ahead and jump into the minor updates. So Peacekeeper is the most minor of updates we've had thus far, being that she did get a full rework back in season 5 or 6. So it's been a couple of months now, and they're just tweaking her to give her a little bit more edge. They've buffed most of her damage 1 to 2 points each. They've also tweaked her stamina cost so she can throw out around 1 to 2 more attacks before going out of stamina. Should result in some better play from her. They also wanted to change it so that she could get executions more often in group fights, so they are giving her a zone and a heavy off of a guard break. They're also tweaking her top heavy to be 900 milliseconds instead of 800 milliseconds. This change will make it so she no longer gets the top heavy off of a guard break, but she will still get her top heavy off of a light parry. They've also tweaked the damage for this attack to compensate for that, so this is now your best punish that you can throw out as a Peacekeeper, and this should make for an overall decent change. Peacekeeper's zone is also being adjusted so that it now consumes stamina twice. They're reducing the first stamina consumption down to 40 and increasing the second stamina consumption up to 20. This is overall a net 0 if you let the attack fly, but what this will do is it will decrease the stamina consumption that happens if you use the attack to either fall into a soft feint or a hard feint. A pretty solid change if I do say so myself. It's not really a major balance change, but it just makes playing the character better. That is all of her tweaks. As I said, it's relatively minor. So let's go ahead and jump into Warlord. To start with, they're nerfing his crashing charge. It is now active only after 500 milliseconds from 300 milliseconds. This means that crashing charge is now reactable and is no longer going to hit you every single time with a cancel to guard break or a crashing charge. They're also changing his lunge strike. The strike reaction is being toned down to a light strike, which means that you can dodge sooner. The transition from the lunge strike is now a headbutt at 100 milliseconds quicker, and the lunge strike no longer guarantees a headbutt on block anymore. To compensate for these changes, they are buffing the damage 10 damage. So it is now 35 damage if you get hit by a running Warlord. In addition to those changes, they are adding new chains. So he now has a light and a heavy, so that you can use them as you please. Gives you some mix-up potential from your first hit. All of his light finishers are now 500 milliseconds instead of 600 milliseconds, as they should be because 600 millisecond attacks are terrible. His light attack openers now have the unblockable property on the superior block. They have buffed the damage from a top superior block to 29 damage from 19, and his side blocks from 13 damage to 25, a very hefty damage increase. His heavy damage is being changed. They are buffing his top heavy opener from 25 to 30, his side heavy openers from 30 to 35, his top heavy finishers from 30 to 35, and his side heavy finishers from 35 to 40. As another change to his attacks, they are changing how his zone attack works. This now has the undodgeable property, so that he can throw that out if he thinks you're going to dodge. And to make him feel a little less inferior to the Black Prior, they're buffing his full block stance. It now consumes slightly less stamina to enter the stance, but consumes half a stamina more per second to hold it, and while exiting full block stance, you no longer have to wait 4 full seconds for your stamina regen to start again. It now starts instantaneously, so there's no penalty anymore. That does cover all of Warlord's changes. It sounds like he may actually be a decent hero now, especially with his crashing charge nerfs. If you weren't somebody who abused crashing charge already, this may bring you into a proper balanced state. Those of you who did abuse crashing charge though, this is going to absolutely devastate you. I'm not sure what you're going to have to do. Maybe you'll just have to play the Black Prior. But with that, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think about these balance changes down in the comments below. And I suppose have a good one, and I will see you in the next one.